Hi, and welcome to Happy Fisherman Adventures.
I hope, I dream, I wish to catch a big fish, and I do it when I can. I'm a happy fisherman, and I do it when I can. I'm a happy fisherman.
Today's episode is about Garfish at Swan Bay and Gummy Shark at Mud Island.
Before that, Portland, Mahimahi.
How amazing is that? They're really close in and they're good size too.
To be honest, that's one of my favorite fish. And Marco, Sharkman charters, Chris, Gone Fishing charters, Matthew Hunt, they all been getting it. Plus, Mazzini's there, real-time charters, and they still getting barrels. And it's all in Portland, no Port McMac. It's actually Portland.
Congratulations, guys.
Kudos.
Now, let's continue with the show. And our very first stop was at the wreck, but we were catching only undersized pinkies.
Unfortunately, no keepers. Let's watch the first video.
Well, I can start saying by today we had no plans. We launched in Werribee and the first stop is going to be the wreck. This time of the year, wreck kinda produce some nice snapper and some good gummies. Well, why not give it a go again? There is about 18 kilometers from Werribee Rem to the wreck and we got there pretty quick. We did scan around a little bit and we went even on top of the wreck just to see what's going on, but nothing exciting. One thing to remember, check the regulations as you cannot anchor around here. You need to be about 500 meters away from the wreck. Well, here we go. As we got there, it started. Very, very small pinkies. Someone would ask, why are you using light gear in this deep area? Well, as normal, first I cast my big rigs for gummy and snapper, then I burley quite a bit just to attract some fish around, and then after that I would use the small gear just to make some action under the boat. Also, it's fun, just sitting there and waiting for a big strike. In many occasions we actually got big snapper on this small setup. It's just a matter of not tying up the drag and definitely you can bring it in. So far, we only kept getting these small pinkies, and I was actually ready to move. In the meantime, we got some flathead that was way undersized, so nothing exciting so far. Well, if anything I can say, we were doing a great job feeding these fish. Even the big rods that were loaded with a full squid head or full pilchard, they just got stripped. We made the decision to reload it once more, give it another 10 minutes and see how we go. Well, we were still getting only small pinkies and way undersized small flatties. If you look in the background, Chiquita had the time of her life. She was sleeping like no tomorrow. We were here already about 40 minutes and nothing, just small undersized pinkies and really small flatheads. Well, Mima called it last cast. In the meantime, I checked the big rods and they were all stripped, so it was time to pack them up. So the last cast brought only another undersized flathead, so for me that was sign to pack up and go.
As you saw, we didn't have much success here, so we moved to Swan Bay.
Yeah, and here, as we came in Swan Bay in very shallow water, Mima spotted one garfish. So we actually anchored and then we start burling, and in no time we caught quite a few.
Let's watch the next video.
Well, we decided to go to St. Leonard's, but there was lots of boats around, so we end up in Swambai. We are here very shallow and the water was crystal clear, and Mima spotted one garfish. So I started setting up some rigs for garfish, and we had a special ingredients for them. This is the actual area where we chase garfish, and it is common for them to be around this time of the year. If you look closely at my rig that I'm preparing, we are not using float at all. I only use small long shank hooks, and I put a small split shot sinker, then we cast that and slowly we wind back. And that's the result, our first garfish for the day. The key here is to burley and attract the fish. You just have to be careful not to burley too much, as the burley would go with the flow and you take the fish to the next boat. Another thing to consider, you only burley on the back of the boat, on the top water. You don't put the burley and drop it down at all. Remember, garfish are only about half a meter to a meter from the surface of the water, and that's where we target them. If we let this rig in the water too long and not winding it back, it would drop on the floor, and normally then we would get either flathead or King George whiting or even a Gummy Shark on that small hooks. So while garfish is around, forget taking a rest or having something to eat or drink. You need to work. You need to be able to cast and slowly wind back. You don't let the rod out of your hand. As you can see, Mima was plucking them like not tomorrow. In the meantime, I grabbed another rod and I started making a rig for it. From time to time, make sure you throw some more burley in. The burley I used in this occasion, it is here fishy burley that actually is made local, and I do add a little bit extra tuna oil just to refresh it a bit. I put it in the back of the boat, my burley bucket in the back, and I crunch it. I like this burley because actually disperses nicely. It's made out of proper tuna oil, and attracts the fish, simple as that. As per bite, we used a special ingredients. Now keep watching what we're putting on the hooks. For years we were using flathead fillets or silverfish, maggots, a bit of pilchard, squid, and that's how we used to catch our garfish. Then last year at Mount Martha, in 20 meters of water actually, we burleyed, and next moment we had garfish all over the boat. So whatever we put in that burley, we're now using for a bite, and it works a treat. They can be fiddly sometime, but a bit of patience always pays off. As you see here, Mima was working overtime. I was still working on the other setup, so in meantime, Mima had to take her own fish off the hook. The towel is actually not a bad idea because they are a bit slimy, and then you get your hands dirty, and then you put those dirty hands on your rod and it just feels yuck. My second rod was just about ready, and now we're gonna have 2 rods in the water targeting garfish. As you see on the left hand side, I got my whiting rods, but they didn't do much. Somehow there was no King George whiting around. But that didn't bother us at all. We had plenty of garfish to play with. Now watch here, Mima gets actually nibbled with the second hook. The lesson number 1 is not to rush things and safety first. My setup does have 2 hooks, and garfish does go crazy, tries to shake the hook off, so the second hook always spins around, so you really have to be careful. Even that was just a scratch, Mima still felt the pain because of the salt water. but imagine those hooks if they go in your hand. Bloody think it's nightmare to take them out. On the other hand, as you see, that didn't stop Mima catching fish.
Garfish was on fire and they were beautiful size.
To be honest, there was a special ingredients we used. So keep watching till the end because we actually tell you what we use for bite because it's just amazing. It works 100%.
Well, as I mentioned before, having 2 hooks rig can be pain in the shoulder. Lucky this time the hook only got my shirt. As you see, we already fishing for about an hour and Garfish still going crazy, but King George whiting was nowhere to be seen. Saying that, I started taking out some of the King George whiting rods. They were just in my way. In the meantime, Mima got another one. As I mentioned before, we will tell you the special ingredients we use to catch garfish, but keep watching. If you look at our bite board, you may realize what we got there. Anyway, very shortly here I become Gar City. And as you see, we've been getting them left, right and center. Now listen carefully. We can get gars on maggots. We get them on flathead fillet. We can get them on silverfish. They love silverfish. We get them on pilchard, slice of pilchard, like really small pieces of pilchard. Even squid. But this particular bite we're using at the moment, they fight for it. Like when we use, let's say, silverfish, I would cast and I would white, have a nibble. With this bite, they just smack it. Have a look at Mima's rod. She just threw it in. Have a look how long it's going to take for her to get him. That's it. First shot. You miss some, of course. We all do. But it's just unbelievable. So what is this ingredients? It's bloody tuna. Last year, accidentally, we brought some tuna skin and all that leftovers from Portland because we actually bring the whole fish. So when I cleaned it at home, I had all those leftovers, so I put it in the back of the burley bucket when we were at Mount Martha chasing snapper last year at roughly this time of the year. Next moment we had garfish everywhere, so we were in about 22-meter depth over there in the middle of the bloody channel. So what I did, I took a piece of tuna skin and just cut a bit of flesh, tuna flesh. Cut them, they don't need to be any bigger than the matchstick head, like just a small piece. I put it on, they were fighting for it. It was unbelievable. So as you see today, the same trick just works. They love it, and we absolutely love catching them. Have a look here, double trouble. Well, that's why we use 2 hooks sometime. Now, next time you're in Portland and you got a tuna, make sure you bring some of those scraps just to actually burley with and have some meat left over for gars if they're around, because you're gonna be a happy fisherman too.
In the next video you'll see Tippy and Will on the 1st of May having a really long day out on the water where they ended up doing 125 kilometers around the bay.
That's right. We started at Werribee and we end up going basically to Geelong. We got a couple King George there, but actually we got heaps of King George, but they were all undersized. We only couple keepers. Then we came to Leopold. Then we end up, at Clifton Springs. So finally we end up at Mud Island,
where they ended up catching a really nice gummy.
Let's watch the first video.
Well, as you see here, we were very keen. Early morning and we were packing up to go. Me and Will decided that today we're gonna fish in Corio Bay. So off we go. We got there at first light, we set up the camera slowly, and the game was on. Our target fish today was King George whiting. And while I was setting up the cameras, we'll say I got some nibbles. And then next thing I heard, I got him. It was the target fish, but it was very small. Well, Will was ready to put him back, but before he put him back, he actually whispered, "Go and get your mom and dad to come here. They are invited for dinner." Then in no time, we had more nibbles. So it was promising, it looked promising, but looks like only his friends were around and no parents. We were quite okay because some action is going on and we're not bored, but there was no keepers. We didn't count this session, but I think we had over 100 fish. And I believe on the end we end up with 2 or 3 keepers, that's all. The keepers actually were quite nice size, like close to 40s, but all the rest of them were too small, 25 to 28, they just no reason to keep them. One quick advice here, make sure you have plenty rags on the boat when you actually chase King George whiting. King George is so slimy that the rag gets so slimy as well that even if you try to wash it in salt water, it doesn't work. So you just have to have few around. Then when you leave and you got 3-4 dirty hand towels or rags, whatever you want to call them, just put them in a skyler bag, hook 'em skyler bag or tumbler bag, whatever you got, and just drag them behind the boat for about 5 minutes. As you see, we were catching one after the other. We didn't use nothing special for bait, it was just standard pippies or pilchard or squid. I didn't have any mussels, but I believe they will work just as good. But the fish was just too small. And we just keep throwing them back. As you see here now again, Will had to have a little bit of conversation with this fish, just to tell him to go and get his mom and dad and not his friends. Well, that last fish did listen. Have a look at this. First keeper. And then another one of his friends. Well, that's life and that's fishing. Well, what can I tell you here? I can tell you that Mima made us hot pastricis and we had no time even to try them. We were so busy with this little fish that was unbelievable. But it all was fun and we didn't mind it. And sometime we actually got double trouble. If I stick them together, they would maybe a legal size. 2 hours later, I was on the phone and Will got another keeper. Well, there you go. All this time the rod's gone crazy, but as I say, the fish was too small. So we made the decision, we had enough, we're going towards Leopold or maybe to Clifton Springs for some squid, and we'll see where we're gonna end up.
In the next video you're going to see that Tippy and Will anchored in 11 meters of water and they ended up with a really nice gummy shark.
We actually were lucky because I only had light rods for pinkies and lucky that this fish got towel wrapped. Other than that, we would lose it 100%.
Let's watch the next video.
Well, our next stop was Clifton Springs and try for some squid, but unfortunately here, disaster. I never seen so much surface grass in my life. And not just surface, it was thick as. As you throw your squid jig in, it would go straight to the surface and then you drag it back and it would have so much grass you could actually feed 10 horses with it. Well, a quick decision and off we go. This time next stop was Mud Island. The weather was just amazing. Water was calm and it was just beautiful to be out there. So when we got to actual Mud Island, I went to the edge of Pinnacle Channel and that edge is about 11-meter depth. We anchored, I dropped my burley bucket, and let's see what happens. When I checked my underwater camera later on at home, I never seen so many small starfish in my life. And if you see on the left hand side, there is a worm just going in the hole. In the meantime, I was putting the camera together. Will was on a gummy shark. How is this for a bad luck? I left my rod in a biteboard holder and I had a piece of salmon on it, and that was hitting my lens, my camera lens, and was smudging it. I just don't believe it. It's like it's trying to paint graffiti on my lens. But yeah, still you can see through this fog that Will was on a nice gummy. He's on my light rod, snapper rod, and I didn't even tell him it was only 20-pound leader on it with a small Redis 1/0 hooks. And yeah, he was just lucky that this fish was tail wrapped. One thing I can tell you, I love my hookem net when we get a gummy because it falls in and the net stretches. So all you do, grab the frame and lift it up. Well, there is two happy fishermen, as you can see by our faces. We were smiling, laughing, and the trip was worth it. I just have to mention that that day we did 125 kilometers, and then we got rewarded with this beautiful gummy shark. Well, just before we bled this fish, we took a nice photo, and then we maybe fished for another 10-15 minutes, and we had enough. It was around 2 o'clock and that's it. We were on the way to the Werebe ramp.
Before we go, we would like to say a big thank you to the Preston Northcote Angling Club for having us as guest speakers.
Special thanks to Richard, President, Tony, Nikki, and all of you that attended there. Actually, the people were beautiful. And thank you for your support. It was a full house. It was a relaxed atmosphere. And yeah, it was just amazing.
With us tonight, and thanks for taking your time out of your busy schedule to come to our club, and away you go.
And I do it when I can. I'm a happy fisherman. And I do it when I can. I'm a happy fisherman.
Well, as we mentioned before, it makes us happy. That's what we call us happy fishermen, and that's what the show is called about. To share, to help.
It's called Seaview, and what it is, it's a kit that allows us to film underwater, either on a tripod. We can drop it down on a tripod underwater to film underwater, or we can troll with it or drift with it, and the footage is amazing.
Well, I'm going to pass my rods around to see what rods we normally use for snapper and catching gummies, and then I'll show you the second rod, which is our setup for King George whiting.
I think it was the one on the right, the passenger side of the boat. Took off, as soon as it took off, you know with a gummy, there's an instant, it'll just pull. And then she'll just take it, just pull on there.
Well, thank you, Tibby. Thanks so much, mate. Really appreciate that. And I'm sure we can all benefit from having your philosophy on fishing and this happy fishing. And we've really enjoyed your talk tonight. And here's a little something for you and Will to share in appreciation of coming tonight. And Mima, I've got something that you can have all for your own. So thank you.
Once again, thank you for watching. We will see you next time.
I hope, I dream, I wish to catch a big